Hello and welcome to Apex Online Racing. We're on F1 2016 on the Xbox platform, and we're in Japan at the infamous Suzuka circuit for the 13th round of this 13th season. My name is Justin, and joining me once again, it's Ali.
I am indeed, and what a place to be today. Suzuka is an absolutely legendary track. The S section at the start of the track is probably one of my favourite sections in the entirety of Formula One, so I am very much looking forward to this one.
Yep, it is definitely a favorite amongst the drivers, amongst the spectators. Absolutely everybody loves Suzuka. Last time at Monza, though, it was ESR Finch who picked up the win as he went side by side across the finish line with the Flying Finn, who was classified just 83 thousandths of a second behind the Williams, while Jason completed the rostrum with a masterclass one-stop strategy, leaving him just 4 seconds behind the leaders after 27 laps of racing. In the championship, the Flying Finn has claimed his second driver's title after an absence from TRL Martin in Italy. STS F1 Alonso has moved ahead of Limitless due to his absence from the Italian Grand Prix as well, moving JD down to 5th, while his teammate commands a 9-point lead over Alonso in the battle for 3rd in the standings. Both championships are wrapped up with 3 races to go, but there's still plenty to race for as we get closer and closer to the F1 2017 release date. But let's focus on the task at hand, starting with the side-by-side lap comparison and full qualifying report.
Round 13 of the season sees us at Japan for a qualifying comparison between TRL Limitless and the Flying Finn. Notably, the drivers are on different compounds of tyres, with Limitless on the softs and Flying Finn on the mediums, so they'll be going for a different strategy compared to each other in the race. I'm throwing it into turn 1 now, downshifting into 3rd gear and trying to get as close to the apex of turn 2 as possible. Hard on the power on the exit, and now we navigate our way through the S section, which is so rewarding when you do get it right. Of course, at this point, Limitless being on the softer tyre, you'll expect him to have an advantage in his cornering speed, and we'll see how much an advantage he actually does have when we come to the end of Sector 1. Now, coming up towards the first Degner, I'm going to stop it on the apex, and we'll see that there's about a car length and a half in favour of Limitless there, but Finn is keeping him honest at the moment. Navigating our way through the second Degner there, and coming up towards the hairpin, which is a very tricky braking zone. I don't expect either driver to give it 100%, and yet they are both pretty contained in the corner entry and on the exit there. Now, just going up the gears now through this curve straight towards Spoon, holding it in 7th gear and 50-meter board is the reference, and stopping it again on the apex there. It's pretty much even there, not much time gained for either driver there on each other. And a bit of oversteer on the exit there for Finn, but down this straight towards 130R now. It's going to be flat out for both drivers. And then one proper braking zone to really think about, which is the Casio triangle at the 100-meter board here. Throwing it in to the right and then the left, using a lot of curve for both drivers. Difficult on the exit here. And coming up towards the line, opening that DRS, and there's about a 2/10 difference there in favour of Limitless, who gets pole position.
So taking a look at the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix, and incredibly, it was TRL Limitless who took pole position on the soft tyres, 0.2 of a second ahead of ESR Finch, who will actually be starting from 7th due to a 5-place grid penalty for some kind of collision during qualifying, which means the Flying Finn will be promoted up to the front row of the grid. ESR Surprise qualified 4th with a stunning performance on the pad to get his Sauber up into the top 4, and Franglish, another surprise in this qualifying session, who also went on the soft compound of tyres, got himself up into P5. STS F1 Alonso is ahead of TRL Martin in 6th and 7th, with Jason 97 F1 ahead of AOR Reversal and Stu rounding out the top 10. 6 Kills is the first driver with free tyre choice for the race, and LuckyDog was the last driver to set a time, as TRL Williams, ESR Orca and RS Falcon all did not set a lap time. But now it is time for the Japanese Grand Prix.
Welcome to a very cloudy Suzuka in Japan, where we've got 16 drivers preparing to go racing around a circuit that is always a driver and fan favorite. The weatherman is forecasting no rain for today's race, despite the view outside our windows, but we've got a fan favorite on pole in the form of TRL Limitless. But the real question, Ali, is can he convert that pole into a win starting on the soft compound?
That is a very big question, and one that I am not entirely sure of. Starting on the soft, he's going to struggle to do the one stop, which we presume will be the faster strategy, and to make the two stop work, he's going to have some ballistic pace, and obviously that is a trait of TRL Limitless. We've seen it many times in the past. The guy can be absolutely rapid. He's going to need every single ounce of that pace today if he wants to make this strategy work.
Yep, he is starting from the best possible position, so he definitely... I mean, I wouldn't... who even knows if he's the fastest over one lap, because, of course, he was on faster tires, so I'm not sure he would have been on that pole position if he were on the mediums. I'm not sure what the delta is, but, yeah, I'm fairly certain that he might not be the quickest guy out there. His teammate Jason, meanwhile, starting from 8th position, pretty much dead center in the middle of the field, so he's going to have a pretty interesting turn one. And they do pick up a good amount of speed heading into that first high-speed double right-hander, and I'm expecting we may see a little bit of bumping and grinding potentially as the rest of the cars are making their way to the grid now. Just 3 races to go, 2 to go after this one in the final season of AOR with F1 2016 as the lights are coming on now. On board with the Flying Finn, he'll have the inside line heading into the first corner. It looks like a jump start for Limitless, actually. That's definitely going to hurt him. The Flying Finn already taken command of this race. Franglish up into P2, and it looks like TRL Martin having a look up the inside, but no, JD hangs on to that 3rd place position and starts pressuring Franglish, actually. But it looks like Franglish with the inside line is going to actually put pressure on the Flying Finn. He's around on his left-hand side by side through the S section. Not something I expected to see on this opening lap. Now Franglish and JD are going side by side into Dunlop. They go. Limitless goes around the outside. TRL Martin getting involved. SCS F1 Alonso shoots up the inside, claims 4th position just about, but the double right-handers now means that Alonso's going to struggle, but no, he actually goes around the outside there as well. It's been a difficult start, it appears, for Stu, Ryan, and Finch. All of those guys quite a ways off the rest of the pack. On board with ESR Orca as he makes a Kamui into the hairpin and tries to take a position off of LuckyDog. Doesn't quite work out for him. LuckyDog on those hard compound tires for the start of this race, with Orca, of course, on the mediums. He is going to be looking to get by that Toro Rosso as soon as possible, but he's got the Sauber on his right-hand side going around the outside. Incredible stuff, Ali. We're seeing a lot of overtakes around the outside.
Absolute madness. Side by side through Sector 1 on lap 1. Incredible, but even more incredible, side by side through 130R. Limitless retakes the lead of the race. He had a really shocking start. I think he might have had a lag start. There's Franglish is challenging the Flying Finn for second. Alonso is trying to get involved. Martin as well in the background. It is all kicking off in the top 5. Here's Reversal's getting mugged by Jason, who's up into P6 now. A solid start from Jason from P8 on the grid, I believe. Reversal has not had enough yet. He's going to try and go around the outside at turn 1 as the leaders are still battling into turn 1. I think I can see just about in the distance. Reversal trying to hang it around the outside. Surely not all the way around the outside. Can he pull this one off? He can. Awesome stuff from the Red Bull driver. He's had a torrid season, but that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a fantastic overtake, and that's the kind of reversal that we like to see. ESR Orca now, again, he's behind Surprise, who's actually just behind 6 skills now. Orca's just outside the top 10, but can see them. Oh, already a track limit warning for the Flying Finn. The Mercedes driver picking up a warning just on the 2nd lap of this race. He's going to have to really be careful about that. Looks like Stu has already been into the pits for a set of hard compound tires at the end of the first lap. Falcon as well, and it looks like Ryan followed them in, so possibly those 3 guys all getting involved in some skirmish at the beginning of the race, which we might get a replay for potentially. And the Limitless has actually pulled out that gap on the Flying Finn. Up ahead, Surprise, trying to go around the outside on 6 skills and pulls it off. Fantastic move for the Sauber driver to move him up into 9th position, dropping the Toro Rosso down into 10th. Bit of a tank slapper for the Toro Rosso. Orca might be able to capitalize on this with the softer compound tires. He's got the straight line speed. He'll have to go around the outside of 130R, but it wouldn't be the first overtake we've seen around the outside. Alonso and Franglish with a little bit of bumping into the Casio triangle, and that's going to move Alonso up into a podium position. TRL Martin looking like he wants to take advantage of Franglish, who did start on the soft compound tires, similar to JD. DRS enabled, but of course the detection line is before the start-finish line, so no DRS just yet for TRL Martin as he closes in on the McLaren and completes that overtake on the Manor. Meanwhile, Jason97 F1 going to try and get back into that 6th place position that he had claimed not long ago, as a big gap, Ali, starts to form between 5th and 6th here.
Yeah, a lot of battling going on has really split up the field here. The two leaders have shot off. We saw a lot of battling between the top 5 early on, but then Limitless and Finn have just disappeared. Oh my goodness, Jason is off, Reversal is off, it's all gone wrong for those two. Jason has taken the scenic route round the outside and the gravel. Reversal has got wing damage, and how many times have we seen that this season? Crashed out AOR Reversal, his afternoon after looking so promising, such an awesome move. He's crashed again, and it seems almost inevitable now that something will happen to this poor man in every single race. He cannot catch a break at the moment. Another disaster for AOR Reversal in some pretty dramatic circumstances there. That did look quite spectacular, with Jason disappearing off into the gravel, and I'm not really sure what happened to Reversal. He just seemed to lose it on the traction, which is a strange place to lose it really. It can occasionally be a difficult traction zone, but here we go then. With the battle for the lead, Limitless versus Finn. The Flying Finn going purple through the middle sector. He's right on the back of the Renault. Limitless's tyres, despite it being early on in the race, are going to be going off very shortly. The mediums are definitely the choice tyre to be on at this point. And Finn with the DRS, with the slipstream, he's up in rich mix as well. Limitless is not going to go defensive as Finn beautifully swoops to the inside. Look at that. And the move is already done into turn 1, but Limitless has come back at him, back on the inside for turn 2. How on earth has he pulled that one off? And they're going to try and go side by side through the sector 1. That's incredible. And how on earth is Limitless still in the lead of this race? I cannot quite believe what I've just seen there. How is that Renault still ahead of the Mercedes? And in all of that, Martin has got ahead of Alonso as well, but it is really all kicking off now.
That is incredible stuff from TRL Limitless. We've seen some incredible stuff from him all season long, but also we've seen a lot of disappointing finishes for the Renault driver, so hopefully we're not going to see anything like that today, as he has a bit of a lockup on those lovely soft tires that match the Renault oh so well, but they are definitely starting to fall off at this point. I haven't taken a look at what his tire life looks like. I haven't seen anything pop up on screen, but I have to imagine that those softs are already crying out after doing laps in qualifying before even starting this race, now coming to the end of the 4th lap, so those tires definitely are starting to feel it, especially with the high fuel. Tyrrell Williams goes right off at the exit of Spoon, comes back and then goes right back off again, and that's ESR Orca up into 7th position. ESR LuckyDog going to pick up a slipstream here and gets a good run on the Ferrari on the run down towards 130R. He'll have to do it around the outside if he can just about get ahead, and he does as they head into the very high speed left-hander. End of lap 4, and another attempt for the Flying Finn to make the overtake. Much cleaner exit out of the final quarter this time should put him very comfortably ahead of the Renault as they get into the braking zone for turn 1. Ooh, a very interesting final corner for the Toro Rosso, as we have a number of cars all within very close proximity of each other heading down into turn 1. The TRO Williams, the Ferrari on the inside. Jason goes wide. ESR LuckyDog caught in that dirty air effect, possibly goes very wide as well. Jason now coming under attack from the Toro Rosso of 6 skills, but just about fends him off with the better exit speed coming out of turn 2. SDS F1 Alonso appears to have lost a little bit of ground to the Red Bull of TRL Martin up ahead, but he is just about keeping up with him as they're making their way into Sector 2 now. ESR Orca is going to try and put a move on ESR Surprise. That is really, the first Degner is really not a great overtaking location there. TRL Limitless through the hairpin he goes for the 5th time in this race, keeping up just about with the Flying Finn here. He's going to get a great opportunity to pick up a slipstream on the run down towards 130R here. However, he is certainly going to be struggling through Spoon, while the Flying Finn's tires are probably feeling much better. TRL Martin using all of the circuit and then some, taking a very late apex before coming onto the straight that heads down towards 130R, and doing a good job of maximizing his top speed down towards that high-speed left-hander. ESR Orca now using the slipstream from ESR Surprise to good effect. He's going to close right up to the gearbox of that Sauber, side-by-side into 130R, inside line for the Haas, but no, ESR Surprise hangs it around the outside. It's a term that we've been using a lot today, Ali.
It is, and Surprise has been really impressive. I think it's twice around the outside at Spoon he's gone, and then that move into 130R, but back to the lead. It's Limitless versus Finn again into turn 1, and so late on the brakes is the Renault. Again, he surprised us with just how good he is wheel to wheel. It's a shame that Limitless hasn't been able to produce the results this season, and he hasn't been able to consistently be at the front, because this is what we're missing out on. The guy clearly has not lost any of his class. Maybe the raw speed potentially that he had on F1 2013 and 14 isn't quite there on this game. Who knows, maybe he'll be back right at the front on F1 2017, but he's proven time and time again his wheel-to-wheel skills are as good as anybody in this field. And back to the battle of the ESRs, it's Surprise versus Orca, and Orca is just going mental. He's trying every kind of move. He's got a really unique driving style with some pretty odd gear selections. He went from second straight up to fifth. Oh my goodness, that's even more odd. What is going on there? No gear selections are going to help that one as he goes cartwheeling through the air. Oh my days, what is it with Suzuka and throwing up bizarre crashes? We saw 6 skills blow up in spectacular fashion last season, but I think that might just take the biscuit, Justin.
That was incredible. That just came out of nowhere. I did not expect that to happen whatsoever. I was just about to point out that Surprise started this race in 3rd, while Orca started in 14th. So that really goes to show the fortunes that they had at the beginning of the race. End of lap 6 now. Tyrrell Martin has closed up right up to the back of this battle for the lead. The Flying Finn once again is going to pick up the DRS. Tyrrell Limitless is going to go a bit more defensive to the inside for this attempt down into turn 1 at the start of lap number 7, but the Flying Finn was able to move ahead of him even before they got into the braking zone, so no tricky switchbacks for JD this time. He's not going to be able to save that position, and certainly he's going to lose massive amounts of time during sectors 1 and 2 in comparison to that Mercedes up ahead with the medium compound tires. And the way that this Red Bull is just closing in on Limitless really shows how much he is struggling with those tires as he just barely makes his way through Dunlop. You can see Martin already thinking about making the overtake, heading into the Degners, which is definitely not an overtaking location. Orca has managed to get back into the pits, replaced his front wing, nearly 10 seconds worth of pit stop for him. And that gap has definitely started to form between the Mercedes and the Renault up at the pointy end. And it looks like Alonso has actually closed in on this battle as well. Yeah, he is not far off of Martin. So definitely the Red Bull and the McLaren are both going to be picking up the DRS. Certainly the slipstream as they come out of Spoon. And once again, those worn softs are hurting JD big time. He is not going to be picking up any sort of slipstream or DRS off of the car ahead. A bit of a lift there from TRL Martin. No lifting though for STS F1 Alonso. He's going to move up the inside at 130R. Well judged from TRL Martin there to hang it around the outside. Incredible stuff from him. It looked like he had lost that position, but then carried just the right amount of speed, and we do see JD peel off into the pits, unsurprisingly, at the end of lap 7. But the real question is, what sort of compound is he going to fit? I assume if we see him fit the mediums, that's going to be a 2-stop strategy. And if we see him fit the hards, then that means he's probably going to attempt the 1-stop anyway. Jason97 F1 makes quick work of ESR Surprise, moves up into 4th position, up 4 places now, but in a net 5th, of course, after JD's pit stop. But we'll see what he does. And finally, we get that replay. Everything's settled down a little bit. Go ahead and talk us through this, Ali.
So this is on board with RS Falcon, who has a view of every single driver pretty much coming into turn 1. He's got it all happening in front of him. Tries to go around the outside of Orca. Oh dear, that's not gone well at all as he steams into the back of her. Couldn't quite see who that was. There was a lot going on, and that's the end of RS Falcon's race before it's even begun, really. Red front wing damage. Oh dear, it's just not Falcon's afternoon, is it? It's gone from bad to worse. No front wing, and then backwards as well, just to top it all off. This is Jason. Ooh, that was very sketchy. That's why Surprise dropped so many positions. He got tagged by, is that Alonso he makes contact with? Yeah, he hits the back of Alonso. Oh dear. It's bumper cars at the back. We didn't see any of this, really.
No. And
this is Stu, who got caught up with Finch. It looked very clean up at the front, but in the midfield it is carnage, really. His reversal goes around the outside of 6 skills. Does he avoid all this? Oh, he does. Just parts like the Red Sea through Sector 1, and Reversal gets up into P7, so that's why Reversal had such a mega start, and he just touches the curb in the traction zone. That's why he collects Jason on the way out as well, and then into the gravel with no front wing. And as we said earlier, it cannot go any worse for Reversal this season. Jason is just a passenger. There's nowhere he can go. I don't know how he kept that
well
one out of the wall, in all honesty. Just foot, if in doubt, flat out by the looks of things. Just keep your foot flat in the gravel, and it worked. This is Martin getting past Alonso. Actually, it didn't really work out for Martin, because when Finn got past Limitless, Martin got stuck behind Limitless for the whole lap. So on those old softs, it was the lap before Limitless pitted. It created a huge gap between Martin and Finn. I think that might have cost Martin the chance for a race win here, as this is Jason trying to get past Williams. He makes his way back through the field with an awesome cutback through the final chicane. That is how you do it with Jason. Is he into P9? I think he just about gets up into P8, does he? Yes, he does, with the DRS, and Williams hanging on for dear life, but without the DRS is unable to compete in a straight line. And those are the adventures of Jason at the start of this race. He's been up and down the field, and then that, I have no words to describe that. The pictures speak for themselves. I think some horrendous lag has gone on, and then just all manner of crash has happened. Oh my, it looked suitably less dramatic from Jason's point of view, but still, to be happening in an F1 game, a car go cartwheeling round the track, that's not a normal sight, as the Flying Finn picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's something we haven't seen him get in a long old time. Most of these drivers now are pretty used to this system, so we've seen a massive reduction in the number of penalties. So to see a driver get a penalty on lap 10, that is not a good sign. It doesn't bode well for the remaining 17 laps of this race, really, as Alonso is still stuck to the back of Martin, and this battle looks like it's going to go on for a very long time.
Yep. Oh, wow. And actually, they both dive into the pits, so it's going to be up to the pit crews to actually determine where these guys are going to feed out, with a decent gap between the two of them. And it looks like Martin's pit box is first, so he should comfortably stay ahead. ESR Surprise now into the pits. That releases TRL Williams into, I believe, a podium position potentially here. TRL Martin does manage to stay ahead of the McLaren of Alonso despite the 2.2 second stop from the Woking base team, and he's going to feed out into P8. Yes, he is, with his teammate actually just coming out of the pits just behind him, and Franglish taking P9. Limitless down, and he is on soft tires, so actually Limitless does appear to be doing the two-stop, which means he really doesn't want to be dealing with any sort of traffic. If he's going to make this work, he more or less needs to catch up to the Flying Finn. If he's not within at least a couple of seconds by the end of this stint, I think certainly he's going to be having a really difficult time as far as winning this race. TRL Martin has caught up to the back of his sister teammate, with LuckyDog moving over to the right-hand side. Not going to put up much of a fight for the Red Bull driver as he makes his way very nicely through the hairpin. And sometimes I'm just watching these onboards and just thinking, wow, I could never drive this well. And that was definitely one of those moments, as Stu seems to be fighting his car and the circuit. You can see him just really holding that lock through the S section and up the Dunlop curve, and he's just getting harassed by ESR Finch. Through the Degners he goes, side by side through the second Degner. Incredible attempt here. If it's not successful, Finch getting a little bit aggressive at the exit of the corner, saying, no, this is my position, I've taken it from you now, you need to go ahead and lift off. And Stu actually does oblige, as the Williams just seemed incredibly quick through there, as the Flying Finn now is going to come out of the pits for presumably his one and only stop, as Limitless should fairly easily take the lead, but he doesn't actually. He goes around the outside. Incredible stuff for Limitless to take that P2 off of the Flying Finn, but he really needs to pull away now. He needs to build a massive gap, because Limitless needs to stop again, and the Flying Finn does not. Presumably Limitless is going to go onto a set of mediums at the end, so he will have healthier tires and possibly a step softer, as well as Finch has gone and parked it on the apex. I was going to say he's gone and lost all of that time that he gained on the Force India, but then he went and parked it on the apex, and Stu kind of drove right into the back of him. A bit of a clumsy one through the Casio triangle for those two guys as they head into turn one side by side. TRL Martin now onto the back of the other Toro Rosso 6 Skills, and I imagine he is going to be trying to make quick work of him as he's using the Rich Mix coming out of the hairpin and through the very long right-hander, very high-speed, flat-out corner. Of course, gets the inside line for Spoon, turns in perfectly, lets the car run out a little bit wide, gets a bit of oversteer, but I think it actually helped him get turned in for the second part of that corner. And now the Flying Finn is right onto the back of Limitless, and this will be very interesting to see. I don't think we're going to see an attempt into 130R, but I think we may see an attempt into turn one, Ali.
Yeah, it's worked out very well for the Flying Finn really here. The Haas just don't give up, and I can't really see Limitless pulling away on those soft tyres, which are going to go off fairly shortly. He was lap 7, I think he pitted, and this should be a fairly simple pass for Finn. Limitless goes to the inside, but I don't think there's much he can do here. Finn just breezes past, and there is absolutely nothing Limitless can do about that one. And even though he's on the soft tyres, he should in theory be quicker, but because the slipstream is so strong, whatever he tries to do, I can't see him pulling a gap to the Flying Finn. And it is pretty cool to see these two vying for what could be a very prestigious P13 as we're about to start lap 13 of season 13. But Finch and Stu, oh, it's all gone wrong. This sliding, it's all gone wrong. They've both had to spin it round. And is RS Falcon going to take it? He has to swerve to avoid Finch. Oh dear, this is going to end in tears surely as Finch starts lap 13 and RS Falcon's trying to go round the outside at turn 1. This is getting much more interesting than I imagined for P13 as Finch is trying to hang it down the inside. Falcon has launched it around the outside. He's run a little bit wide. And Finch is going to take the very prestigious P13 on lap 13 of round 13 of season 13. And he will eventually be, I promise you, at turn 13 as well, which is quite an achievement.
Yeah, that has to be one of the most random statistics. And shout out to whoever pointed that out in the round 12 video. But yeah, it's 13s all around, and it's for a moment there it seemed like they were battling on who wouldn't have to be in P13 of lap 13. But ESR Finch eventually claims that position, and yeah, that's definitely an interesting one, so we thought we would point that one out. If you're watching this on August 13th at 1:13 p.m., then also that's even crazier. So back on board though with the action as we turn our focus to something a little bit more relevant. STS F1 Alonso putting the pressure on TRL Martin through the first couple of corners, but wasn't able to pull alongside. Limitless meanwhile is still keeping up with the Flying Finn. I don't know if the Flying Finn is maybe making mistakes, or if he's just being generous. I'm not really sure, or if Limitless is possibly just driving without limits. But he is clearly pushing very hard to keep in that battle for the lead. Keeping in mind though, he will need to pit again. So I think he's more looking at possibly P5 or so, but we'll see how that works out. RS Falcon has some pretty worn tires as Finch does complete that 13th lap in P13, but Falcon is going to try and take that back. Oh, some contact though heading into turn 2 is going to put him into a bit of a spin, and if my eyes don't deceive me, I do believe Finch is actually waiting up for him, possibly taking blame for that one, and in sportsman-like nature is going to let him back through. The Flying Finn, meanwhile, has pulled out a pretty significant gap on Limitless. 13 laps remaining in this race as we're now past the halfway point of this Japanese Grand Prix through 130R for the silver arrow of the Flying Finn into the Casio Triangle, and through the final corner he goes. And will we see the Renault of TRL Limitless peeling off into the pits? Yes, we will. There he is to your right-hand side, just got hidden by the guardrail, and STS F1 Alonso with that DRS could be a threat to TRL Martin, although he was a few car lengths behind. And it looks like a pretty painless stop for the Renault driver as Limitless continues on a set of hards, actually. That's an interesting one. He's selected the hards, which does mean he can push to his heart's content, but I'm not sure if that's going to really help him in his quest to win this race. It's looking fairly easy for the Flying Finn at the moment. Decent sized gap back to this battle here, where the McLaren and the Red Bull are still duking it out for the 2 podium positions to find out who is going to bring home 18 points and who's going to bring home 15, assuming that they don't crash into each other or anything like that. But yeah, 6 skills, a pretty good ways back, so really this is the battle I think to watch at the front.
It is, and back to that Limitless strategy call, it's slightly surprising to see him go for hards when a lot of these drivers did 12 laps at the start of the race on a scrub set of mediums on full fuel, and he reckons he can't even do that on a fresh set with low fuel at the end, which seems like a very, very surprising strategy call to me. And I mentioned earlier as well, as we're looking at a replay of Alonso going down the inside of 6 skills, that the hards don't really give up any lap time. They tend to be, well, they tend to maintain the same pace, really, despite having a lot of wear, which is a strange characteristic of these tyres. They just don't give up at all, really. So I can't see Limitless having a big advantage at all, really, over the likes of the Flying Finn and Martin and Alonso. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what brings the end of the race. But this is Jason, who's closing up to the back of Franglish, and Jason's actually had a bit of a quiet race since he had some adventures early on. Now he's right on the back of Franglish, who also had an interesting race early on. I think he was briefly in the lead as we went through Sector 1 for the briefest of moments. I think Franglish did have the lead of the race, but now he is into the pits on, I believe, the same strategy as Limitless, as Jason's DRS appeared to disappear there, which was slightly surprising to see. Did I see that?
No, I didn't pick up on that, but yeah, that would be a weird one. He was definitely within DRS range. ESR Surprise does have his DRS, though. His DRS is certainly working as we get... that's a fantastic shot, actually, of the first couple of corners. Franglish is out of the pits, and it looks like he's going to lose a position to LuckyDog. No, LuckyDog isn't close enough. He is closing in at quite a rate of knots there, and you can see him pushing very, very hard to close in on that Manor car up ahead, but a few car lengths back. I think if he keeps pushing, he may get the DRS, but of course, Franglish with the fresher tires as we skip ahead to the end of lap 19 now, and LuckyDog has closed up to the back of that Manor, and they're making their way through 130R now. ESR Surprise now putting the moves on TRL Williams side by side down the start-finish straight and into turn 1. Inside line for the Sauber, outside for the Ferrari. Fairly straightforward for Surprise as he claims the inside line and another position up into P6 now. ESR LuckyDog onto the back of Franglish. Oh, that's going to be a bit of a dive bomb, but Franglish actually leaves him a lot of room, potentially even going off of the circuit there, so I don't think that was intentional from the Manor driver. TRL Martin has lost the position to SDS F1 Alonso, but is practically pushing him through that turn 10 hairpin. That's turn 10, right? And making their way through turn 12 now. It's turn 11 hairpin, excuse me. TRL Martin right up to the back of the McLaren. Light contact is actually going to give him some front wing damage at the front right-hand side. Unfortunately, we didn't have footage of that overtake from Alonso on Martin, but here we go with Martin to try and reclaim that second place position at the end of lap 20 here. Very, very close. In fact, I think he may have lifted. Is he going to try and make the overtake into the chicane? No, thinks better of it. And just right onto the back of him. The trust he must have in the McLaren driver is just incredible as he picks up a little bit of dirty air. Now the slipstream heading down the start-finish straight again with the DRS. Can the Red Bull driver get close enough to pull side by side into turn 1? It doesn't look like he can. SDS F1 Alonso holds on to that second place position for the meantime. Here's a replay of LuckyDog defending the inside line into turn 1 as Franglish tries to go around the outside, and it looks like he's just about done it, but then not quite. Lots of room being given, though, by the Toro Rosso driver. And here we are at the end of lap 21, and it looks like Franglish might be trying to do it again.
It's good to see these two actually battling within the points. Well, this is for two pretty solid championship points at this stage. Franglish obviously working an alternate strategy, and it's working out reasonably well for him at the moment as he breezes past up into P9. This is Orca and Reversal, who both had some interesting races, to say the least. And Reversal is trying to defend, but I think Orca on the soft is going to be able to make pretty easy work of that Red Bull, and yeah, it's no resistance into turn 1. There's nothing really you can do due to the strength of the slipstream and the DRS on this game, as Martin is potentially looking to the inside for Spoon. I think he will be really kicking himself with that wing damage, because if you remember a couple of laps ago we saw a replay, or quite a long time ago now, we saw a replay of the Flying Finn picking up a 3-second time penalty. So these two, they might not know it. Their engineer may have told them or may have not. But if they get within 3 seconds, they could be in with a shout of the race win. And Martin getting wing damage, I think, effectively ends his hopes of doing that. If you remember last season as well, Martin got deprived of the victory after crossing the line first because of a 3-second time penalty. So that one might hurt a little bit for Martin. As Alonso's in a really solid P2 as well. He's really improved his form in the last couple of races as Martin dummies to the inside. I think he realises Alonso's going to be faster because he has a full front wing, we believe. So Martin is just using him quite effectively, and because of the strength of the slipstream, he's able to easily stick with him. But Alonso's upturn of form has been very, very impressive. Pole at Monza and a pretty strong showing today. But now you can see the effects of Martin's wing damage. It's painful to watch the understeer through Sector 1 here.
Yeah, and up the hill as well at the beginning of Sector 2. On board with LuckyDog, the battle between Franglish and LuckyDog rages on at the start of lap 23. Around the outside for the Toro Rosso. Nicely on the brakes, just about missing the curbing on the outside. The Manor comes back at him at the inside, but now LuckyDog will have the inside line for this left-hander. Is he still with him? Yes, he's still right there. Franglish up the inside of turn 4. Very nice move from the Manor driver, actually, to grab that P9 back. Fantastic stuff from him. Back on board with the battle for second position, as SDS F1 Alonso is clearly feeling the pressure from TRL Martin, doing a fantastic job of holding on to that position, though, as they come out of Spoon and down the no DRS straight. No DRS on that straight. And the Flying Finn is going to be starting the penultimate lap of this race, and it looks like a 9.5 second gap to SDS F1 Alonso. So unless he's picked up 3 more 3-second time penalties, it looks like he's going to pretty comfortably win this race. And despite skipping ahead, it looks like absolutely nothing has changed in the battle for second position, as once again Martin just struggling to pull alongside. I mean, he's clearly got the pace, considering he has a damaged front wing especially. He's keeping right up to the back of this McLaren, but can never seem to make enough use of the DRS straight, never is alongside, can never actually make the overtake. So he is probably pretty frustrated right now. It is possible that we've missed a 3-second time penalty for Alonso as he goes heavy on the curbs and nearly had a similar accident to what we saw earlier today, as the Flying Finn is into that turn 11 hairpin once again. And ESR LuckyDog and Franglish still battling it out, and actually they've caught up to the other Toro Rosso of 6 skills in P8. So this battle for P9 has now evolved into a 3-way battle for P8. Yeah, big giant gap to P7, so this is probably as good as any of these 3 drivers are going to be able to do. And look at the tire life that Franglish is dealing with. His worst tire is at 39%. Meanwhile, the man leading the race is at 65% on his front left. And clearly that is the difference in strategy. I mean, he's only got 1 lap to go, so I don't think he's in any danger of popping those hard compound tires or anything like that. But Ali, this battle for P2 still going on.
It is, and it's about to enter the final lap as well. Martin has got to pull something out of the bag here. He's got a big slide on out the final chicane. That's not going to help him at all. He's much too far back, and his tyres are about to explode as well. They're in protest, and somehow he's only half a second away from his best lap time, which is a minor miracle, to be honest. As he's pushing this McLaren through Sector 1, he's got to work something. It is so hard to overtake around here most of the time. And with a damaged front wing and dead tyres and no DRS straights left to do it, it's a bit of a mountain for Martin to climb here. And you can see the time he's losing through Sector 1. Again, it's painful to watch that understeer. Alonso is able to just pull away, and he's holding his nerve pretty well here. He's got a champion behind him, and he's not made any mistakes. He's been able to keep it pretty comfortably ahead as he has a cursory glance back at Tyrrell Martin, who is 0.7 of a second down the road. He is going to get second place in this race, but the man who is going to get first is 10 seconds almost down the road. He has flown away from the rest of the field. His tyres are in much better shape than Martin's. He has been cruising, really, since he had a bit of a battle with Limitless early on. The Flying Finn has just disappeared off the front. Not a single other car really on the minimap anywhere near him. Tyres are comfortable, fuel is comfortable, everything is comfortable in the world of the Flying Finn at the moment. But 6 skills under all kinds of pressure from Franglish, had an awesome start and is about to get past the Toro Rosso. Surely, is he going to go for a dive into the hairpin? He's caught so much. He's going to look to the outside on the final lap of the race. Can Franglish make this one work? He's late on the brakes. He's on the grass. He's locked up. Can he do it? What a move this would be if he can pull it off. And he has. Franglish takes P8 as the Flying Finn celebrates over the line to win the Season 13 Japanese Grand Prix. He is absolutely delighted with that one. A comfortable victory and a solid second place for SDS F1 Alonso. I'm sure he will be very happy with that. A decent enough P3 for Tyrrell Martin, not the most inspiring of races from him. Jason getting a good P4 after that trip to the gravel early on. I'm sure he'll be pretty happy with that one. And Franglish, wow, what an overtake. Take a bow, man.
Yeah, that was incredible stuff around the outside of the hairpin. Certainly not one of the easier overtakes to make, but he made it look easy. And, oh, wow, the game even says that he won the race. So, yeah, they must have really, really liked that overtake. That was truly fantastic. ESR Orca is going to cross the line just outside of the points, unfortunately for him. AOR Reversal decides to take the chicane before Spoon Curve, just for the fun of it, which is interesting, actually. I like that one. Oh, and he's decided to go into the pits as well. at the end of the race. So he's going to cross the finish line in the pits, just park it right up, doesn't even have to do an in lap. That's the way to do it if you want to get to the pub as quickly as possible. Anyway, the Flying Finn does win despite that 3-second time penalty. He had to be very careful about that, actually, and it was a perfect brother 1-2 with STS F1 Alonso finishing just behind him in second position. TRL Martin in the end, 7.2 seconds. Yeah, we were talking about whether or not Alonso maybe has a 3-second penalty. Turns out Martin was the one that had a 3-second time penalty, so he does stay in third. Jason97 F1 does manage to finish ahead of his teammate, and I have to gloat a little bit because I did say Limitless would probably finish the race in P5, so that was nice of me. ESR Surprise in sixth, and TRO Williams actually with a solid seventh. That's a good result for TRO Williams. We've seen him outside of the points pretty regularly, if memory serves. Not a great day for Stu or Finch. I guess being in 13th on lap 13 of round 13 for season 13 was indeed unlucky for the Williams driver. RS Falcon, the only driver to finish after being lapped, and AOR Reversal nearly got lapped at the end. And of course, the Flying Finn is the championship leader. We already knew that, or the championship winner, I should say. He's won a second championship in a row. TRL Martin is 69 points ahead with 2 races remaining, so that means he's actually solidified second position in the championship. There is still much to play for third, though, with just 3 points separating Jason97 F1 and STS F1 Alonso, the two guys with F1 in their names, so you know they're fans of the sport. Limitless, though, 20 points down on Alonso, so he's going to have to start picking up podiums at the end of this season if he wants to try and improve on that. TRO Williams, as I mentioned, with that solid finish, he does move up to 15th in the standings ahead of Franglish and Six Skills and WCR Kubica as well. So yeah, a solid day at the track for TRO Williams. And of course, Mercedes are the Constructors' champions, but now just 16 points between Red Bull and Renault.
That's a fight that maybe Martin and Limitless will be looking to, and Jason and Reversal actually hasn't really contributed much to Red Bull season so far, but we'll see what he can pull out of the bag in the final 2 races. But those two are pretty experienced teams, so maybe it will mean something to them finishing second in the Constructors. I'm sure it's not really something Martin and Limitless would have been wanting to fight for coming into this season. I'm sure second in the Constructors was not really on their agenda, but still, you got to fight for whatever at the end of the season. I'm sure it'll mean something to some people. And next up is the American Grand Prix, which is another awesome track. I have to say, I absolutely love that place.
Yep, it is fantastic. I've been there a couple of times myself in 2013 and 2015, might be going again in 2017, but I feel like I should point out to the viewers that I will actually be absent for this race and won't be doing commentary, so Ali and Fisi will be taking over for the comms on that one, as I'm going to be taking part in a charity stream in Pittsburgh next week, which means I will not be around for recording that commentary. So I hope it's a good race, and I know Circuit of the Americas always is a fun one to watch. So thank you everybody for watching the Season 13 Japanese Grand Prix. We will see you next time for the US Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. For Fizzy, Chris, and Ali, thanks again. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.